let me just step in as YDD master of segues right now, and maybe we can talk about a movie that's not quite up there on the quality scale of things.
That is fair. I appreciate the master of segues, quite frankly. That was very well done. So, going on.
The Room.
Not quite. So, Barney and I saw New Mutants last weekend, and I'll start with the verdict.
Show saw it too. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Well, we got to talk to him too.
We'll come back to that.
Please, yeah. So I'll start with the verdict on the movie. It didn't suck. Hooray. Next question.
Okay, I'll come right in then with Show's opinion that it did entirely suck.
Well, agree to disagree.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I disagree with that too.
So, for a film that began filming in Boston at Medfield State Hospital, actually, in the summer of 2017, getting pushed back multiple times, whether it was done to avoid competition with its own movies, such as Deadpool 2 or Dark Phoenix, give it more time to be a distinct film, a distinct superhero film, similar to Logan and the overall Deadpool franchise, but not be so bad that it ends up like Fan Four Stick, or dealing with company buyouts like the Disney-Fox merger. It's a wonder this movie ever saw the light of day. I'm certainly glad that it did. This is an interesting film.
Made it by the skin of its teeth.
Absolutely. This is an interesting film that was meant to be a tentpole for a large studio, one of the biggest in Hollywood. It was supposed to start a new sub-franchise, most likely a trilogy. They had a plan to finish the film with additional photography, pickup shots, and then, get what they needed to write in order to continue the story for the future, like most franchises have the opportunity to do. They got none of that extra material that most films have the luxury of having. They got the footage they got from principal photography in 2017, and that's all they had to finish this film for 2020. When Disney allowed director Josh Boone to come back and finish the movie, since it would cost Disney practically nothing to put it together, no harm, no foul, even if it bombs, it was a year after he made the initial first cut for the studio executives. As the Disney-Fox merger was happening. Almost everyone else had moved on long since the project had quietly ended. The cast was way older, and they couldn't shoot with the same young cast anymore because they'd either grown or their bodies were going through changes or whatever. I mean, these were kids we were working with here. Other editors that were originally involved with the project were under contract for other projects, so Josh had to call in other outside people who weren't as familiar with the footage to help finish the special effects and tell the best story that they could. The fact that they had everything that they filmed in order to tell somewhat of a cohesive story, and somewhat's actually a weak word, they actually did tell a complete story beginning to end. It's an accomplishment in and of itself. This film doesn't name their mutants using code names, like the previous X-Men films or anything from the comics, but I will tell you them to clarify if you happen to know the original characters. You have Wolfsbane, who transforms into a wolf. You have Cannonball, who can shoot himself across the room at lightning speed, basically. You have Mirage, who is kind of the antagonistic force that drills the rest of the film. She brings people's nightmares to life. Who else do we have? We have Sunspot. He lights himself on fire. No big deal. And then you have Magic, who has basically sorceress magical powers. She can make a sword come out of her arm. She can travel to different lands and go through portals. They didn't mention this in the New Mutants movie, Barney, but she is actually the sister of Colossus, which really? I didn't know. They were probably planning on using him for a future film in the franchise. So I'm okay with just focusing on the character, not using a separate character to heighten your character. So I actually respect that. In my opinion, I thought the cast played well with each other. I think Dr. Reyes, while also an antagonistic force in the movie, she came across as both helpful to the kids when they needed it, but also scared and loyal to her actual employer and the reason why she has all these mutants trapped in a really crappy hospital. Also, fun fact as far as casting goes, Marilyn Manson voiced the Smile Men, Barney.
Nice.
which I thought you would appreciate.
Yeah, and they were so creepy
They
too.
were
That was
very creepy.
In my mind, one of the successes of the movie was those guys really nicely rendered and voiced.
Yes, yes, absolutely. There wasn't a real core villain in this, not like your Thanos or your, Lex Luthor or anything like that. The only real antagonistic force felt throughout the entire film was the Essex Corporation. And if you don't know who they are, they were present in the Apocalypse film in the post-credit scene, and they were present in the Logan film as well. The organization is run by Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister. Now, I mentioned in my previous review of Dark Phoenix, which, by the way, you can check out from one of our previous streams on our YouTube channel. I mentioned in the previous review that they should have used him as the villain in that movie in Dark Phoenix rather than a really dumb alien race with zero personality. With this movie, it was clear to me that they were intending on using him in a bigger way further down the line. Maybe as the equivalent of Thanos to some degree, that, he's a major threat to this universe of characters. All the X-Men, Deadpool, the New Mutants, maybe they all come together for a big team-up film at the end. I thought Mr. Sinister could have been a good enough guy where it wasn't just Magneto again, His presence was felt in the 3 different subgenres that I just mentioned. I really think it could have been a good idea to use him as a real big bad. Have him, basically save your franchise ultimately to make it so there's some cohesion by the end. But the studio jumped ship on everything. You can't overcome that level of corporate sweeping under the rug. They should have used Mr. Sinister sooner, and they ultimately paid the price for taking their time getting their act together. Basically, they lost control of the rights to the characters. This isn't an action superhero movie like most others. Also, it's not even really a horror movie as it was kind of billed to be, even from the trailers. It's a group character piece. It's not a great character piece, but it's a good starting point to build off of for future installments, if we ever got them. But that's how this movie was filmed, for the future, not for the present, and that's probably where the film falls short, but it's overall not its fault. They were promised, the producers, the directors, the cast crew, everybody, they were all promised opportunity, and they couldn't even make a professional film because the rules changed on them. Basic rules of, we are a company, go make this movie, make it a franchise. And we couldn't even get that far because Fox just didn't really have a clue of what to do with its IPs. Personally, I'm happy that this film came out, that it's finally out. It's not perfect or amazing or great. It's good. A calm good. I'm happy that this X-Men movie ends the franchise on a much more positive note than the god-awful Dark Phoenix. It's the end of an era. There's no MCU without the X-Men. Never forget that, boys and girls. X-Men was ground zero for the superhero team movie. They hit great highs, and they had some steep lows. Some real steep lows. I saw Dark Phoenix. But this film is in the middle.
So basically it's the Breakfast Club with superpowers.
Yes.
It's
yes.
Crossovers.
And for this franchise, I'm very happy with that.
That's a good description, and that's a good description of what I liked about it.
Yes.
I felt like, the characters and the relationships with each other and that development was pretty solid, honestly.
Definitely. Now, I definitely think the X-Men film franchise from Fox definitely deserved a better send-off overall, but considering what our options were, Dark Phoenix, again, much like this upcoming U.S. presidential election, I'll take the lesser of two evils and live to keep fighting another day.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's my piece.
Yeah, I think you mostly covered it as far as I'm concerned. My major summation is just that it is not that bad.
And that's great.
Show really did not like it, and I did not think that it was it deserved to be brought down that much. I thought there was some things that I enjoyed about it, and simple as that, really.